Kia ora, and welcome to this PAROT webinar. Welcome today. So today we're going to be looking at using PAROT as a curriculum leader and or a department as a curriculum leader for departmental learning area tracking. I've put a link to these slides in the chat. So if you want to reference them, they are there for you. So before we start, I'll quickly introduce myself. So my name is Jake Wills. I went to uni, so I get to put some letters after my name, which is always exciting. My background, I was a teacher for 13 years before stepping out of the classroom at the end of last year. During that time, I worked at Westlake Boys for a couple of years in Auckland, and then moved down to Kapiti College, where I worked for 11 years as a director of IT, a dean, a head of maths, and an assistant principal. And during that, most of that time, I was in charge of data and reporting for the school. For those maths teachers amongst you, I also run NZ Grapher. I've been working on PAROT since 2021. The general idea behind PAROT is I had some problems that I wanted to solve. Other people probably had some similar problems. And so we were just kind of trying to all solve each other's problems. And I've also started working on Report It this year, which is a health and safety tracking tool for schools. So some things for this webinar. As we go through the session today, you should be able to put questions into the chat. I'll do my best to answer them as we go. Otherwise, I will answer them at the end. So if you do have a question, you're probably not the only person that's got it. So please do put something in the chat. Timing, I'm aiming to be done well before 4:15 p.m. But if you want to hang around after and ask questions, then you're more than welcome to do so. And the session is being recorded, and I'll share the recording and slides afterwards with anyone that registered, and the recording will also go up on the website eventually as a guide that you can refer back to. So today we're going to be covering NCA analysis, looking at the departmental analysis. We're looking at credits, credit distributions, filtering down to individual courses, viewing department over time, viewing data over time, and also looking at assessment timeline data. So how do you access this? So if you haven't logged into PAROT before, if you go to www.parot.nz and click on the teacher admin login at the top, you choose your school, you click go, and you log in with your school Google or Microsoft account. There's a few schools that are using Microsoft login. And once you're logged in, click on the achievement analysis button. If you can't see the achievement analysis button, that means that your admin hasn't turned it on for you. You'll need to ask them to do that. Now, a quick note on the data in the achievement analysis area. It relies on manual scripts from KMAR, so it doesn't update automatically. This is because it needs to have historical data, and the automatic scripts from KMAR only include data for current students. And when you're wanting to look at historical data, you want to be able to make sure that you've got all of the data there. So you can see when it was last updated on the right-hand side. There is the dates listed there. And there I've also put in here a link to the instructions to keep it up to date, which is available on the guides page if you need it. So one of the things that I've tried to do is make it as easy as possible for people that don't like playing around with filters and slices and dices. So you can play around with the filters and the slices and dices, but for a lot of today, what we're going to be doing is looking at what you can get out of the suggested views. So on the right-hand side here, there's a button that says suggested views. If you click on that, it brings up this pop-up, which has a whole bunch of different things that you can look at. But for today, we're looking in this departmental analysis section. And under the department analysis section, we're going to start off by looking at the single department by course credits section. So in this example, I'm going to choose the maths department because, as we all know, mathematics is the best subject in the world. If you disagree with me, you're allowed to have that opinion, even though it's wrong. So we're going to be looking at the mathematics department. So I've clicked on maths. You may want to click on a different department if you're playing along. And that will give you this. So I've anonymized this data because I always try and protect schools' data where I can. Or always try and protect schools' data, know where I can. I always try and protect it. So down the left-hand side here, this is the list of courses. And then it's broken down by gold is your excellence, yellow is your merit, blue is your achieved, and red is your not achieved. So we can see that there's some courses here where we've got, higher percentage of merits and excellences, and some here where we've got some lower percentages of merits and excellences. And there's a bit of variety there. When you do it, you'll be able to see the courses there on the left-hand side. If you want to come and look at a different year, on the left-hand side here, you've got this year filter. So this here's looking at, it'll always pull by default the current year, or the year that you've got the most recent data for. So sometimes in January, February, you haven't loaded any data for the current year, so it'll just pull the previous year. So if you want to go back and have a look at a previous year, you can just change that there. Sometimes, though, you want to do a little bit more digging. So you might want to dig down into an individual subject. So on the left-hand side here, there are a whole bunch of different filters. What I've done here is I've come and looked at just the Year 13 calculus course. So in there, you can put in more than one subject if you want. And then what I've done here is I have split by assessment. So I can see how the different assessments have gone in my department. So I can see these three here, which are the three internals. We've got quite high rates of merits and excellences. These three at the bottom here, which are our externals, slightly lower rates of merits and excellences. And then there are a couple of kids that did some random extra standards in there as well. You can split this by various different things. You can split it up by assessment, gender, ethnicity, and teacher. Now, I will comment on the splitting by teacher. When you split by teacher, you might find a difference in results. Just because there is a difference in results does not mean that one teacher is doing a better job than the other. There are a whole bunch of other things that could be going on. One year I was teaching Year 13 calculus. There was 2 of us teaching that course. I ended up with all of the students who were taking physics in my Year 13 calculus class, and the other teacher ended up with none of the kids that were taking physics in her class. My results looked really good. Hers were pretty fantastic as well, but mine were slightly better. I don't think it's because I'm a better teacher than she is. She's an absolutely fantastic teacher. It's just how the lines of the timetable worked. So just because there's a difference doesn't necessarily mean that that difference is because of the split you're looking at. There might be some other things going on as well. Oh, look, there's the whole explanation that I just went through. I knew I'd put that in there somewhere. If you want to do something with this graph, on the right-hand side, there is a copy graph button. You click on the copy graph button, and then you can paste it into a Google Doc or whatever. You can also adjust the bar height. Often when I'm putting these into external documents, I like using the medium height bar. It just makes it look slightly nicer on the Google Docs, but you can do whichever. And you can also put on numbers and percentages. The other one with this one is, it's scrolled down off the top here, but the data type. This is looking at the number of credits, which means that the biggest, when you split by anything other than assessment, it means that the bigger assessments have a bigger weighting than the smaller assessments. Sometimes, though, you want to know the number of results in each thing, particularly when you're splitting by assessment. And so there is a data type that's been added in the last couple of weeks, which is NCA assessments, and it is just the count of the assessments. So you can change that if you would like that sort of numbering. So what we've looked at so far is the quality of credits. What we're going to look at now is the quantity of credits, because we kind of care about both as a school. We want kids to be doing well in their assessments, but we also want them to be passing lots of assessments, well, within reason. If we scroll down just slightly further, there is a single department by course credit distribution. And so I'm going to again choose mathematics. And that is going to give me a graph that looks like this. So this is the department split by course again, because it's that's the default split there. We've got the reds are shades that are less than 14 credits for a student, and the blue are shades that are 14 or more credits. The darker the color, the more extreme. Is 14 credits a perfect number? No. Can I think of a better number to change from red to blue than 14? No. 14 credits is what you need for a course endorsement. It's what you need to get UE in a subject. If you get 14 credits in all of your courses, you're probably on track to be passing overall. So is it a perfect number? No. Is it good enough? year. There we go. So again, you may wish to dig into a particular course more. So on the left-hand side, you can change the split to all sorts of different things. So we're currently looking at split by subject, but do I have it here? Yes. So this here is, oh, I haven't done any screenshots of it, but you may want to at this point come in and split by teacher or by gender or ethnicity. And again, all of the same things that I said about teacher apply to this view as well. And on the right hand side, there's that nice little copy graph button where you can go and put it into your whatever else it is that you're wanting to look at. The other view that is really useful in here is the students grid. So in the top right hand corner, you can change the display from the strip graph, a bar graph, which means you can see the relative sizes, students grid and table. The students grid brings up a grid, and each of these boxes, I've obviously blurred them all out, has the students' names in them. And when you hover over the student's name, it brings up how they have done in all of their classes. This means that you can see if a student hasn't done well in one of my classes, well, if a student hasn't done well in my class, how have they done in their other classes? Is it a problem across the board, or is it a problem just in my class? Or is there a class where they've really, done well, and I could be learning, going and having a chat to that teacher about how they've done well, or how they're managing to engage with that student. So, it might be that Johnny's not doing very well in my maths class, but I can see that his science teacher has, he's doing really well in science. I can go and have a chat to the science teacher and go, well, what have you done with Johnny that has worked so well? Because something's clearly working really well for Johnny. And it might be something as simple as he absolutely loves horses. Why don't you spend 10 minutes chatting to him about horses? And then suddenly you've got that connection with the kid. So it's helping identify those people that might be good to, grab some extra input from. The other thing that can be quite useful is looking at the data over time. This allows you to see how a department, a course, or assessment has done year over year. PAROT doesn't include national data. Public data for the previous year doesn't come out until May the following year, by which point no one's looking at the previous year's data anyway. So I don't include it for that reason. It is there on NZQA's website, but it requires, you to be logged in with an NZQA login, which, they don't release that data publicly until May. I think the best thing that schools can be doing is looking at how they're doing compared to themselves and always trying to improve. But that being said, looking at it over time, to view your department over time on that suggested views that we've been going into, under single department by year, where again, we've got the two views, we've got the credits and the credit distribution. And again, I'm choosing maths because it's of course the best subject. So this here shows me how at this particular school, the credit distribution has done year on year. So we can see that over time there has been a definite drop in the number of, well, particularly sort of right in here in that 2021, 2022, there's been a drop in the number of students getting 14 or more credits. That was done in and around the time where I think there were some changes in and around the standards in there. So it enables you to see that, make those comparisons. And again, you can do all of the same filtering. So you might want to come and look at just an individual course. So this is looking at just level 3 calculus, and you can see what's happened with that individual course over time. And again, you could filter that down to just particular teachers or subjects, or you can include more than one subject. So you may want to look at all of your calculus courses. So you could put in your level 2, your level 3 calculus courses, both in there. You can also look at an individual assessment over time. So on the left-hand side here, there is if we're looking at the credits, you can put in an assessment number. If you do that, you can see how that individual assessment has tracked over time. So this is looking at 91575, which I can't remember off the top of my head which standard that is. But we can see what's happened with our rates of merits and excellences throughout over time. So that's kind of a general view of that, kind of digging into the data. There's all sorts of slicing and dicing that you can do on the left-hand side. In general, well, you're not writing any data by changing any of these filters, so you can play and round with them. You can play around with them however you'd like, and if it stops working, you just hit the big reload button in the top, and it resets it back to the beginning, and you don't need to worry about breaking anything because you can't permanently break it. You just hit reload, and you're back to where you should be. Someone's asked in the chat, on my data, I can only see 3 years. How do we gain more years? So from I was back to all the way back to here. In here, there is instructions on uploading the data from KMAR, but you just change the year on KMAR before you run the upload, and then you can upload it for as far back as you've got data on KMAR. So in general, that's about 2017. Prior to that, data was removed from their database when students left. They don't do that anymore. So back to 2017 is fairly safe. So the other area that's really useful for HODs is monitoring what's happening in terms of assessments that are ongoing. So the bit that we've looked at so far is looking at the kind of the historical data, what's happened, and kind of comparing that year on year. The other one is looking at, cool, we've got these assessments, these are coming up, these have just been done, how have they done? And we do that through the assessment timeline. Now, if you don't have that assessment timeline, again, your admin can turn that on. I didn't put a link to the guide in here, but there's a setting in the back end to turn that on. Now, there's some bits in here that are reliant on markbooks being set up inside KMAR. So the assessment dates here pull through from the markbook set up on KMAR for the global subject. If you don't have them set up, that's okay. It just means that this column here would be blank. So on the left-hand side here, you can come in and you can choose a department. So I've chosen mathematics again, and I can see all of the assessments. I've got the assessment, I've got the assessment name, how many credits, the level, the subject that's doing it, the assessment end date, the number of opportunities, how many students are currently in the subject, how many entries there are, and how many results there are. So those three columns are, last three columns are quite useful. We can see if there are a bunch of students not being entered in. That's quite useful to know, particularly for externals, before the external entries are finalized. So quite useful to kind of keep an eye on that. If you're getting, not getting entries for whatever reason, that's nice to know. And you can also see the results. So as you look through this, you can go, cool, all of these assessments that are supposed to have happened, I've got results for. If there was, say, one that there was no results for, we could be looking at that and going, well, the assessments were supposed to be done in April. We don't have any results yet. Why not? And it kind of can stand out for you. On the left-hand side, there are also extra columns you can add. So you can look at the percent that's been entered, the percent passed, the distribution of the grades, the assessment method, and the topic and assessment start dates as well. So you can kind of look at, you can bring in the columns that are most relevant to you. By default, it's just got that students in the subject, but you can bring in extra ones if they're relevant to what you're trying to look at. Each of those standards, each of these rows, and I need to make it a little bit more obvious, I'm going to put a little I button in at some point, but I haven't yet done that, is clickable. If you click on it, it takes you into this page here. So what this lets me see, if you've got that data loaded in, we've got historical data from achievement analysis, so I can see the last 4 years worth of data there, and I can see how my results this year are comparing to the previous years. I can also see a breakdown of the different, I'm pretty sure you can set this up in the admin area, which bits you want to include, but we've got multi versus non-multi results broken down by gender, and then also broken down by class. And so as an HOD, you can quickly come in there and you can go, is there anything here that is really standing out? Like here I can see that my females have got a excellence rate that's significantly higher than the males rate. Is that something that is surprising? Maybe, maybe not, don't know. I can also come in here and I can go, well, my excellence rate for this year is 9%, whereas the last couple of years it had been 59%. So I can quickly set it as an HOD and go, well, you know, maybe this is something we need to do a little bit more explanation on. All of this can be easily copied. So if you press that copy button, it'll copy all of the text that you can see there, and you can paste it nicely into a Google Doc. So if you're wanting to, you know, do some reflection or share it with other people, you can nice and easily do it from there as well. Down the bottom, there is also an extra button, which is Explore on Achievement Analysis. What that will do is it will take you into achievement analysis with that standard pre-filled in for that course, so you can then slice and dice it. That does rely on that data being in there for the achievement analysis, but it's just a single button and it will take you in there where you can explore it. I did have another thought, but it is just left my head, so I'll come back to it if I remember it. Some of the other things that are coming soon or nowish is department reports. I love data. I love playing around with it. I love slicing and dicing, but I know not everybody does. And so the department reports, once they're set up by an admin, gives HODs a single button that they can press, and it brings up all of the major graphs that they might need, depending on what you're after as a school. So it's customizable to your school and what you want to look at. So fingers crossed this works. There we go. Here is a quick recording of one from a school. So this is for a maths department again. We've got their junior results, we've got their year 11 results, we've got their year 12 results, and we've got their year 13 results. So each one, I'll just play on that and see if I can pause it in the right place. So for each thing that I've set up, we've got a breakdown of the different courses by the number of credits that I've got so far, and then for each course it shows the results from each assessment that have been done so far inside that course as well. So it's fully customizable. This school has got some junior results as well, which they've got set up, but it is all fully customizable to how you want it set up for your school. So you could put it in a breakdown there by ethnicity or by gender, or whatever it is that you're wanting to make sure that you're focusing on. So that's departmental reports. And there is a guide here on how to set that up. That's only been finished being built in the last couple of days. So yeah. The other one that I know is near and dear to HOD's hearts and angst is working out who is top in subject. So a lot of schools do this based on a GPA, and the GPA includes internals and derived grades. So as long as the derived grades are put into Kmart and that's been sent through, it doesn't automatically come through with directory services, so it does rely on the data from the extra scripts. You can choose which bits you want to include. So this has got internals of type A. I haven't included internals of type U for this one because I mean, this particular course doesn't do any, but there would be some times where you want to include and sometimes you wouldn't. And then there's also externals that you can include or exclude. You can choose your subject, and then it'll give you a list of all of the students. It shows you who their teacher is, so you can, double check how many credits they've passed, how many credits they've sat, and their GPA. And if you press this little I don't have a screenshot of it, it'll bring up a pop-up box showing all of the results that have been counted, so that you're able to confirm that, that does look like how you'd want it to look. So this is the this is looking at a particular subject. You can also do that for the whole school by changing that subject to overall, and it will give you a GPA for the whole school as well. And you can do that by subject or department. You can also do it by individual teacher. So you might, if you do class by class awards, you can come in and you can look at it for this with a particular teacher. And hopefully that's useful for people when they come to start doing prize giving later in the term. So that is most of the things that I wanted to cover today. One of the pieces of feedback I always get with these is you've gone too fast, and someone else says you've gone too slow. I apologize if I did not get the pacing quite perfect for you today. One of the reasons that I record it is so that you can go back and watch it, because I know that some people will want to do that and others won't, which is totally fine. I am going to put copy link address. I'm going to put a link to a feedback form. It's really useful for me if you can fill in the feedback form, because it means that I know what works well for you and what doesn't. So if you could take, it literally takes 2 minutes to fill in the feedback form. I would love it if you could do that. If you've got any questions, now's a great time to pop them into the chat. While if there are any questions, I'll just talk through a couple of other quick things. So the first one is the mid-year survey. If you're an admin user, on the main screen when you go into it, there's a big bright orange button which says mid-year survey. If you fill it in before the end of the month, you go on the draw to win a $50 gift card. We like $50 gift cards. I'd really appreciate it if you could do that, because it helps us work out what we're doing, what we want to build next. Things like the GPA and the department reports, they've all come from people saying, hey, we really want. So if you can do that, that'd be great. The other one is the development voting. On the main screen, there's a development planning screen. This has a list of all of the features that people have suggested to us. By voting in there, you can help us decide what we build next. The other one is there is a link here to the guides, all of these sessions. So this one, we've done a couple for the deans. I think actually someone in the request for this one was like, can you do one for the deans? We've done one for the deans already in the last month or so. So that's all available there on the guides website, and we're slowly building more things there. The other one is in that feedback form, if you could pull in the future, you can give ideas for things that you might want future webinars for as well. Someone has asked, how do we get the derived grades into PAROT? So the derived grades are only been there from the custom file that was released earlier this month. Because that was a brand new bit that we built in. So if you're on the latest version of the custom file and you run that script, the derived grades will come through. If you want to look at last year's data, if you go on Kmart back to last year after updating to the current version, and then run that upload 2025 TT extra data, that'll pull through the derived grades for last year as well. How do you isolate data and graphs for juniors for different subjects? So every school does their junior differently. For that, it's done via the custom qualifications, which is a paid add-on for PAROT, because there was quite a bit of development work to do there, and generally set up work for schools as well. If that's something, if you're wanting to track your junior stuff, basically you can do all of that same stuff that you would do, I've shown with the NCA, but for your juniors, as long as your school has got some sort of consistency with how they do their junior results. And you can have as many different custom qualifications in there as you want. So I know some schools have got an ASTEL qualification, a PAT one, and then they're like junior NCA, or some do curriculum levels, or there's a whole bunch of different ways, options there as well. Cool. Well, I'll stick around here if there's anyone else that's got any other questions, but that's the end of our formal session now. If you could please fill in my surveys. They do really help me. I know teachers of time poor. I've tried to make them as quick and simple as possible, but it does mean that I can then build the things that are most useful for you guys. So and run these sessions that are most useful as well. So if you're able to spend a couple of minutes filling in both the mid-year survey, if you're an admin user, or for everyone, the feedback from today, that would be great. Thank you so much for taking some time out on a Tuesday afternoon to hang out with us. Yeah, if you've got questions, I'll hang around for a couple more minutes. Feel free to pop them in the chat. And if you think of something later on, just flick me through an email, and I'll email the recording out from this to everyone that registered. So thank you so much for coming today.